this week's going to be slightly different from the previous weeks, as I haven't done the second part that I would usually do before filming this. So this is going to be more of a raw thought process of everything. So, starting off on CAD JPY, there's a lot going on here, granted. But in essence, what we were looking for was, we could see that price has just made a higher low, and that we were looking to make a new weekly higher high. After we closed above, we were looking for this candle to continue its momentum. So if I just take this away real quick for you, well, we can see that price closed above the previous higher high made last week, came down, created a morning star formation, closed above the EMA. So my thought process is, realistically, we should be going to make a higher high. And where are we going to go to make a higher high? That is the next question you've got to ask. Well, that next structure point is all the way up here. Okay, but this is when you have to have a bit of common sense, because the market is not just, I mean, it could, but it's highly unlikely that it's just going to go straight back up here without a few niggles along the way. I'll show you, this is probabilistic. This is unprobabilistic. You have to have a probabilistic mindset that this is highly probable that it's going to occur with structure. Waves, ups, downs, ups, downs, ups, downs, ups, downs. This doesn't always happen. So we could expect, right? If price is to push up to an area, where's that next significant area? Well, yeah, this area is, but it's very close to where we've just stopped already and seen the reaction from here. So that next area that I'll be looking for is this, where we can see this big bullish price. Sellers came in, stopped, then price broke above, buyers came in. So we can see when it's above, it's being highly respected. When it's below, it's being highly respected. So this is a very high probability area and valid for price to pull up, continue its bull move until the sellers finally find some strength at this area, and we start seeing people enter the market for sells here to then create the pullback. So this is where we can expect price to potentially push up to. Price could push up to these highs here where we've seen previous resistance, and it could fail to break. But playing to the probabilities, we're looking to see price come up to these areas, because when we go down to the daily, then we can see how that would line up with higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. You see how it all comes together nicely, and how this area is also being respected on the daily. As you can see, resistance, break above, support. When you pay attention to the small little details, you can see. I'll show you. See how resistance, resistance, resistance. As soon as it broke above, now we're getting wicks to the downside. Before we were having wicks to the upside, we break above. Now we're having wicks to the downside. We break above, it's the same thing again. We break below, wick to the upside. Break above, wick to the downside. So now you can see we are clearly below this level. So when we come back up, we can expect wicks to the upside, which can cause a potential pullback to create a potential higher low. So as when we were looking at this market and first analysing it on Saturday, obviously this bullish candle was not here. All we had was this. And we could clearly see the setup being prepared for waiting. You can see I wrote it down, waiting for a bullish reaction off of one of my areas of interest. Why I said one is because price could have easily continued to push down here. it doesn't have to create a morning star formation. It would be nice if it does, but it doesn't have to. So understanding that anything can happen, that we can push up or we can push down. If we were to push up, beautiful, we'll create that morning star formation. Then we can look to enter on the wick pullback tomorrow on the 4-hour high low to trade up. Beautiful. But if we do push down, what could we look then to also take the trade? Where's that next area of interest? Big resistance, 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 break above. You see the switch here, break above, pullback, and that wick pullback was now acting as support after the engulf. That's exactly what we want to see here. Engulf, wick pullback, momentum. Engulf, wick pullback, momentum. But this is the second potential area that I was looking at. As we could see, right? If price were to pull back here, we could potentially get that EMA coming in. We see price come down, give it a nice wick rejection, engulf, wick pullback, entry. We should get rid of this. And valid area, you can see previous major support where it pushed price all the way up here. So it could very much come back here and push price all the way up here. It's very high. Like these things, you have to take multiple scenarios into your brain when you're looking at the markets. You can't just look at it. That's one thing I learned. You can't just look at it as, okay, I'm only looking to buy from this area. Well, why? Because price can easily come down here and give you an even better setup where you could potentially, you could potentially have a 1 to 5 instead of a 1 to 3, let's say. But if your mind was just set on, I'm only trading from here, you're most likely not going to see the information, or something's going to happen. Something in your subconscious will block, distort, or manipulate the information you're seeing. So you either don't see the setup occur here, or you do see it, but you hesitate because you are so set on entering up here. So that's something that I've learned, which I am now implementing, and I'm consciously aware. So now I'm like, okay, and if price does, there's another side to that as well. You have to look at the selling option, because the market, like I said earlier, the market can come down or it can go up, and that's the same for the trend. The market could, on the weekly, the market could come down or it could go up. So you have to take everything into consideration. If it was to come down, how could I trade it, and would there potentially be a high probability setup? For me, there wouldn't, because if price was to come down below this daily area of interest, we'd need first price to break below to then have the pullback to push, because if we were looking for a counter trend trade, by the time price breaks below this, our last area we were looking to buy, the weekly high low is already here. So we'll come here. This is the momentum we want to see. Granted, we haven't had a weak pullback yet, alright? So do I think the price is going to carry on pushing? I do, but I do think we might see a pullback first, and that pullback's going to come back into this daily area of interest. It's going to wick the weekly EMA for us, and then we'll create the push. So you see how we've done this? I do believe that we could potentially, but then we could potentially have this massive pullback wick or something like this. I'm not sure. You gotta take a lot of things into consideration. Like on the 4 hour, what would that look like on the 4 hour? Well, did we close above structure? Ooh, I don't actually know. No, we didn't yet. So if we don't close above structure, the 4 hour can happily come back down here and do this, because this is the higher low, higher high, this is the higher low. Whereas if it does close, this then becomes the higher low, this then becomes the higher high. So I'll be monitoring this. I'm going to mark it out just to pay really close attention. 4 hour higher high, you can see it hasn't closed above yet. And the 4 hour high or low. This is why you should always mark and pay attention, especially if you're new to these points, so you can clearly see high high, high low. Anything in between is market structure. So again, we could potentially see, oh, price might come, it might reject these highs, come back down, come retest this area again, give us a nice rejection, shift of structure and whatnot, and then reject the EMA, then start to push up again to create that new higher high. And what would that be doing on the daily? It'd be coming back down, but we'd also want to see price come back a little deeper. If we saw price come a little deeper, sort of like what it did here, close below, a little fake out below, causing a weekly wick for us. Doesn't have to have a weekly wick, but it's something to watch out for, because it's probabilities, and it's high probability that we will have a wick created at some point. So for this market, I'm either looking for price to come and close above here to confirm this is the high or low, and then what actually, so we want to see price come back down to this area. So we'll set the alerts down here. CAD JPY, pulling back to daily area of interest after pushing off. Because ideally what we want to see with the strategy is today create that impulse, right? Impulse which impulse which breaks structure on the 4 hour, which is a daily engulf. So obviously something closing above here, and then we see the pullback on tomorrow's candle to here, then to push up to here, then to potentially reverse. I don't know, we could see that. You see how there's so many possibilities. It's just endless. But for now, that's what we're going to be waiting for, pullback. I want to see when price starts to pull back a bit sooner. You get me? So that's the first pair. It was number one because we were here and we knew we could potentially do this. It's quite a few pairs as well, so see, now I've gone into deep explanation about how kind of the process that I look at the markets. I'm just going to fly through these. So we've got Euro AUD. You can see clearly we're in sort of this trading range. You can see, it's not the prettiest, creating the waves and whatnot, but there's always a trend. So you can see the trend is technically bullish, right? Higher high, higher low, market structure. Now we've rejected the higher low. We've come bullish engulf above this area of interest, where you can see we've been respecting it multiple times. And after an engulf candle, you have price action is the same for every time frame, okay? So, what the fuck is going on? Okay, so when we're looking at it, we see engulf candle, what we're waiting for, wick pullback, push up, alright? So if we're looking for a weekly wick pullback, well, that's going to be a daily high low. So what we're waiting to see is the daily come back to retest this area, EMA, weekly area of interest, daily area of interest, to then go long. Very simple trade setup we're waiting for. So you mark this as weekly and the daily area of interest, and we're simply just waiting for a pullback to here. So we'll mark this up. Nothing fancy about this at all. Backouts. Weekly / daily area of interest. Looking to see a rejection. Put rejection. can see, if we do happen to pull back to this area, man, we could potentially either shift the 4-hour structure here and then create the engulf to shift the structure again, high, low, da 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 da. You know this, you know the drill at this point. Or, sorry, yeah, this is the high high. My bad. You know, gotta update the market. Or we could potentially see price come back, hold above, da 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 da. Ideally, we want to see shift of structure, so then we can see the engulf, the daily engulf / 4-hour shift of structure. Like that's the piece de resistance when you have those two in combination. But again, stay objective. I'll just wait to see what the market gives me. What type of rejection it gives me, I don't know. All I can do is wait and see. So this pair, simply waiting for a pullback. Right, simple. Next pair is Euro NZD. When I say during this recording, everything is very repetitive. Like when you actually do this over and over, week to week, you're doing the same thing over and over. You know, it's repetitive, and it just becomes autopilot at some point. Obviously, like there's every moment in the market's unique, so you're on autopilot from what you're saying, but what you're thinking is completely different. That's why I speak it out, so you can understand what's going through. Because if I was looking at this, I'd be like, I can just say, okay, yeah, I'm looking for a break and retest of this area. Yeah, but why? That's the question, and that's what I'm going through. Oh, monster. Beautiful. Right, now I'm energized. So you can clearly see the weekly is bullish, okay? Very similar to Euro AUD. We were bullish. You can see as well, there's a lot of correlating pairs in this that look very similar. Like, what I noticed is NZD, we're betting on NZD losing its strength. We're betting on Euro gaining strength. You'll see throughout the whole thing. This is just two perfect examples, right? We'll get, well, what looks the cleanest, sorry, is Euro gaining strength. So Euro AUD, we're looking for the buys. Very similar setup on Euro NZD, where we've just had the break of the minor structure. You can see minor structure was bearish, creating the pullback of the weekly, and then minor structure has just shifted with a bullish engulf, and now we're waiting for a weekly wick pullback to then go long up to these highs here, where you can see we've had previous major resistance, support also. But what I'm waiting to see is, you go down to the daily now, you can see we've created a beautiful impulse, right? We also have extra confirmation of this left head, right shoulder. Oh shit. We're now breaking above this neckline, and then we're simply waiting to see for a retest of the neckline. And you can see, beautiful. Boom, boom, resistance, retest of the neckline to then go long. Also retest of psychological level. Absolutely splendid. The very top of this, 1-800, it would be a retest of psych level, retest of the psychological level, retest of the daily area of interest, retest of the inverse head and shoulders neckline, the weekly wick pullback after an engulf candle. Can you see how many confluences there are that we would have for a potential trade to take? This is all you're doing. You're just building the confluences. I don't have a lot of these confluences. I mean, I do have those confluences, but I don't have the setup yet. I don't have the rejection yet. So that's all I'm waiting for now. Granted, I might not get it, and if I don't, I'll simply move on. It's no big deal. Yeah, it can look cool, and it can look sexy as fuck, but you don't have to take every trade. If it doesn't follow your plan, it's It's not a good trade. That's all you need to remember. You know, we've had potential 3 nice opportunities on 3 markets. I have 10 markets. And this is just 1 week out of, you know what, I don't even know how many weeks there are in there. I think there's 52. I'm going to find out for you right now. Weeks in the year. Yeah, 52.1 makes no sense. We'll call it 52. 52 weeks in the year. 52 times 5, right? Quick math for you. About 230. We'll just call it an even 220. 220 days, right? 220 days of trading, because Monday to Friday is 5 days. So 220, now we trade during London and New York. So there's 2 trading sessions each day. So you have 440 trading sessions in a year, right? And you're worried about, this week, I have to take this trade this week. Why? That's 10 sessions out of your 440. You have another 430 to go. When you start reprogramming your brain to think like this and think in probabilities, you'll be at such ease with your psychology and you won't fear being wrong, losing, missing out, leaving money on the table, because you understand how many opportunities there are going to be in long term, not in the short term. It's all about the long term. I don't care about the next trade or the next 3 trades, 5 for even that matter. I care about the next 20. What's the outcome of the next 20, not the next 2? So, back to my point of what we were looking to see on this chart is a simple retest. So, again, I'll just mark. We could potentially see what, right? Could potentially see a retest to where this resistance level, right? Which we're seeing. And that is on the 4-hour. Yeah, on the 4-hour, we saw resistance break above, come back. But again, we need to wait for a daily rejection. Because at the moment, price is at a higher high. We need some type of a pullback so then we can buy here. Alright? This is another key thing. Okay? I'm not trying to buy here or here. Right? Because if I'd have bought here, I might not have held my take profit. Or I need to buy here. I'm not trying to buy here. I'm trying to buy here for this sell. Instead of buying here for this short sell, I'm trying to buy here for this sell. I'm not trying to buy here, right? Sorry, I'm not trying to buy here. I'm trying to buy here. Obviously, this would have been a sexy entry last week on this big pullback, which I wasn't actually monitoring this market, but I'm going to show you how sexy these things are. Look at this. Bullish engulf on the potential right shoulder. Thursday. When was it? This was Thursday. You can clearly see the strategy at its finest. Shifted structure, broke this high here. Splendid. We had that 4-hour pullback. That 1 hour, fucking hell, mate. I didn't even see this. 15 minute didn't shift structure. Right? Didn't shift structure, but it was the 1 hour. The 1 hour stayed bullish, and then it gave us that engulf. So you're going to take, this is what I mean, the strategy. 10 pips, right? what was that? 15, 25. Take profit where? Well, you're buying from this area. You're gonna put your take profit here. Do you see how that strategy plays out? But we need that engulf candle first. Like, yeah, this is a sign of potential continuation, this type of candle. See how it engulf had that nice hammer, big juicy candle, and a now potential hammer to carry on. I don't care about that. I care about this. I want to enter. You can see here on this wick pullback, what did we happen to do? Create a little pullback. That's exactly what I want. But I need this engulf first and then that to happen. Do you see how it, oh bro, when you start to see the markets like this and understand, but then have the mindset to be able to patiently wait for this shit to happen. So we ideally want to see price pull back down to this area, okay? Because then we can have a nice rejection. We see price pull up here, but price might not. It might reject off of this area. So we'll first get rid of this. We don't need that, all right? Simple. Then we'll command copy this. Align this properly with where I actually want it, right? Resistance. It needs to go up a tad. There we go. See, we're at resistance. Break underneath, yada yada. Break underneath, break above, support, resistance. So if price were to push up and pull back to this area, then we could look for a trade here. So we'll first put this area here. You see how you got to be objective? You can't just, oh, I'm trading from here. You got to look at it from multiple angles. Back at area of interest. Looking for rejection. Yeah, I can't spell, but it doesn't matter. I make money. Okie dokie, next pair. Euro JPY. Sweet thing. Waiting for a wick retest of daily area of interest. So as you can see, we have shot up like a bullet from a gun. No drawdown, well, not drawdown, but no weekly wick pullback whatsoever created yet. But you can see how we have sort of this inverse head and shoulders, okay? You see, let me draw this out. Left, head, right shoulder, and again, we're simply just waiting for a retest of that neckline to then boom, buckle our trade up to this area. So on the daily, this is where it gets a bit techy on the daily. Because you could consider this a pullback. It's not a super clean pullback though. I'm not a fan of how small the candle is. Yeah, it was more of a 2 candle pullback, but if this candle would have closed bearish, I might have considered, because then it would have been more like this. But it has to be like this, you follow structure. So it went to that candle, then it just went and then shit, that's the 2-piece. So it looks like that. I mean, granted, it might look quite nice. It's a bit iffy, man. It's a bit iffy. I'd still consider that. Personally, I'd consider this my high-low. It's just it's not super clean. And you also got to take into consideration, look how big this push was for this tiny little breathe. This is a breather, not a pullback. Okay? That's another way to look at it. Big push, little breather. Continuation of that push. where big push, big pullback. You get me? There's a difference. So for this trade, we're waiting simply for a pullback to the area of interest, where we could potentially see that EMA come in here, reject, which would then create a weekly retest of this area where we can see the wick pullback. So you could see exactly what we saw over on Euro AUD, where we had that engulf candle and then a hammer, is what we could look to see, or ideally what we'd want to see here. See how we have that weekly engulf? Let me come back over here. So you see this engulf, a nice little hammer, push up. That's what we want to see, but over here on the weekly. So we have engulf, and now we want to see that pullback, so boom, create a nice little hammer. So we'll simply, and yeah, we wouldn't trade from any other area of interest. You see resistance, support. You see break above, access support, breaks below. So this is our area. This is not a strong area. This is a strong area. You need to be trading from areas where it's had strong reactions, because when price comes back to that area and you get your setup aligned at that area, now you have a high probability of a strong reaction in your favor again. Everything is, you have to align everything, because if you can wait for everything to align, then you can take the highest probability trades and then take a lot less losses. So all in all, a little bit of patience goes a long way. That's why the saying is patience pays. Back at area of interest, looking for rejection. So all of these pairs were simply just waiting at this point. A lot of these pairs. This one is this one's more of an interesting one that I've got. Not the cleanest, because you can see we've had 2 weeks of dojis, 3 if you'd consider this. But we have the potential to either push up or push down, right? We could see a little push up. This higher high is not far away, okay? We could see the weekly push up to this and then reject. Or we could see the weekly come underneath here to create that higher low. Not higher low, sorry, that internal high low. As you can see, this is higher high, this is the high low. The minor structure went bearish. We've now shifted that minor structure to above this area of interest, where we've clearly had strong rejections from. In the past, you see big sell off, big buy up, big sell off, big sell off. So what makes this a bit clearer is when you come down to the daily, understanding where we are on the weekly and how we're having this pause, and we could potentially have that push up, just like over here, where it's not exactly a pullback, but we've had a little pause to gain some breath to push up again. We could potentially see that here, where we had a little bit of a pause, and then we just pushed up to finally make it to the high, to then finally find some strong resistance and sell. But on the daily, this is a bit clearer, because you can see how we're kind of coming into this little consolidation to the end of it. You know, we did have a left head, right shoulder, left head, right shoulder. So if we did happen to break underneath, we could look to see that break and retest of the neckline. But if price comes back down to this area and rejects it with a nice bullish engulf, then we could look to potentially take some buy positions and continue with that weekly momentum. So it all set in my alert. Everything just begins with this. What is price going to do here? AUD. Is price rejecting? Is price rejecting or breaking below? Another one. This one's more of an interesting one. I want to keep an eye out because all the other shit is just usual break and retest market structure. But this is interesting. This is out of the usual. So this is where you can learn a lot, right? By paying attention. Obviously, if you're not in an objective standpoint and you're just wanting to trade and forcing trades on markets, these type of markets are where you will get fucked because you'll just be wanting to trade any opportunity. Whereas where I'm at now, mentally, I can look at this and patiently wait to see and read what it's telling me. Because what the market is telling me right now is there's a potential for a reversal, but there's also a potential for a push up because we haven't broken below. We're still above this strong area. We're rejecting, we start sort of consolidating. So we could see a fake out, break, retest at this level. There's many possibilities, so I'm just gonna let the market do its thing. It might do something, it might not. We might get another week of consolidation. So on to the next one. Oh, you're naughty. So we are bearish currently, and I put waiting for a weekly retest, daily lower high, rejection at area of interest. Why did I do that? Simple, right? This is looking to take a trade. This whole statement is looking to take a continuation trade of this weekly impulse. And on the daily, you can see we did have an opportunity last week, right? Last week we did have an opportunity, you see, we had this nice support, we had that engulf, we had that wick pullback, where we could have entered a trade here, take profit would have been here, would have been boom. So we're literally looking for the exact same thing, but for a retest of this area, for a wick pullback, which would be, if you can see, a wick back into this EMA, for that EMA to then boom, give it that selling pressure it needs from the area of interest, plus from the EMA to push price back down again. So, but you got to be cautious when taking trades like this. Yes, we want to sell, but I also have to pay attention to the price action at the area of interest to indicate, are we going to see a reversal? Because if we saw price come down like this, give us a nice double bottom and then push up, am I going to want to take the trade against the reversal pattern? No, because that would just be silly. And we're not trying to be silly, we're trying to be smart. Because smart makes money, silly makes mistakes. There's the saying for you. So again, it's just patience. I just marked this up. I was like, okay, so how did price react to the support area of interest before coming back here? Next pair. Yeah, again, this one we're looking to continue with this strong impulse push. You can see how we were bearish and we kind of shifted minor structure here. Now what are we expecting to do after making a potential high low? Well, we're looking to potentially make a new higher high. So we see the weekly's bullish on the way to a higher high, the daily's bullish at a higher high, and 4 hours bullish. So what we were waiting for is, looks very clean on the daily. Nice, very nice area of interest. And we're simply waiting for a pullback, rejection of the area of interest, psychological level, the EMA to come up into this zone, reject that as well, give us all our confluences we need to take the trade up beautifully. GDP NZD, UCD sausage, back at area of interest, looking, waiting for rejection. Ooh, waiting You see how everything is just, we've broken, now we're just waiting for a pullback. And now we're waiting for the rejection. You can see, very nice. See the strong reaction? Pussy-claw. Now we had this big wick, nice big reaction. Another quite big wick, good reaction. Another wick, nice reaction. Another wick, nice reaction. Price pushing above, use the wick rejection as support. So you see everything comes to confirm that this is a strong area. And when I go on the daily, also confirms again, this is a strong area. So we'll go just to, I know I haven't done it on all the pairs, but, oh shit. Weekly / daily. So then you can put at daily area of interest, at weekly area of interest. When it comes to it for the confluences, 4 hour with this, and oh, see, look at that, look at it, man, look at it. If price were to pull back here, it would shift the structure. So then when it does get here, and we have a potential, and when, I'm not going to say when we do, because we might not, but if we do have a bullish engulf, that'll be that bullish, that 4 hour impulse to shift the structure, create that, just like we saw over here, that on, was it Euro NZD? After that engulf, that daily hammer pullback, which will be that 4 hour lower high, to then sell. Juicy, juicy. So that's all we're waiting for at the moment. On to the next one. NZD CAD. NZD CAD. Bearish, weekly's bearish, daily's bearish, waiting for a pullback to area of interest. We can see we've had got a very strong area. Little head, left head, oh shit, left head, right shoulder, break below. This pair actually got stopped out on, right? Where did I enter? I entered after, where is it? Yeah, we had this rejection here. Then I entered on this whip pullback, ended up getting stopped out before this big push happened. Bit of a cunt, but it is what it is, you know? Yeah, I entered here, price push is down. This was the trade where, at this very point here, right, at the top of this box, my take profit was for 8% to pass the 100k. Price came a few pips within, reversed hit my stop loss. Was I upset? No. Did I cry about it? No. Did I get angry? No. Why? Because I understand it's a game of probabilities. This shit is gonna happen, you know? Was I correct on my directional bias? Yes, I was. Was I correct on taking the trade? Yes, I was. It followed my entry, followed my trading plan, so I took it. It just happened to not play out that particular time. Simple as that. Simple as that. Am I gonna kick myself in the teeth for it? No. I'm just gonna, again, like I said, come back and look, wait for another week, another opportunity to arise. Like I said, 52 weeks, 400 trading sessions for you to take opportunities. So don't be stressing over one trade during one session that you took in one session that played out over 1 week. You get me? There's just endless, man, endless. Again, look at this. So we do have a potential, right, of this lower low being created. So we can see a clear indication, daily reversal pattern for the weekly. Now we're simply waiting for a nice lower high to be created, to ideally a rejection from this area to then sell off again. Very simple. Could we see a rejection from another area of interest? Well, that's where we'll look, right? So I see this area acting as support, resistance, support. Could potentially mark this zone off. Mark that zone off as resistance support. So again, this is why, oh my fucking gosh, you have to mark multiple areas. You have to have multiple scenarios. Because now, look at this. If I mark this off, okay, top to bottom, delete these cons. All right. Extend left. But when I extend these left, okay, we mark these up to my structure points. You can see resist, support, support, break underneath, resistance, resistance, support. It broke above, support, broke underneath, resistance, 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 support, support, da 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 da. So you get my point, right? So we could potentially either see a pullback to here, or we could see that the weekly on its magnificent journey has a little pullback to this area, which happens to also be weekly resistance here, weekly support, rejected on the weekly, rejected on the weekly. The thing about having strong areas of interest is, you see how I found a strong area on the daily? Well, it's most likely seen those rejections on the weekly. Has it seen the structure point rejections on the weekly? Different story. But I could simply, this is going to be my first area of interest I'm looking, shitting hell. First area of interest I'm looking to see price come back to see if we potentially get a rejection, as that could be obviously EMA rejection, but area of interest / EMA, very, very nice. NZD at area of interest 1, waiting for rejection. There's not a single chance that I'm looking to take any buys in this market. Simply because why? Left head, right shoulder, shift of structure on the way to create a level low to potentially where we could see this area, down in this area, but I could see this coming down quite a bit. We've got some strong momentum, got good momentum here. You know, I'm not trying to fight the trend, I'm just trying to ride the wave, my nigga, ride the wave. Okay, well, we're almost done now. We've only got 3 pairs. It's only taken about an hour. It's good shit though, man. It's value. So, as you can see, waiting for daily to break and close above area of interest. So we have that shift of structure on the weekly. We have weekly rejections. We have the EMA holding price just under the area of interest. We potentially see that wick close above on the weekly for this week and then come back and retest to push up to this area. But on the daily, what could this look like? Well, we're in current consolidation right now, so we could see price reject this a bit more, come back, tap this, gain some oomph to then break, retest this consolidation, strong resistance, turn to ideally support then to then push up to here. So this one, the reason it's at the bottom is because obviously we need the break above, then we need price to come back and retest. Whereas all the other ones have broken above, and then we're waiting for the retest. So let's just above here, really. Right, NZD, JPY. Breaking out of the... Oh shit, what the fuck did I do? Consolidation. But again, if we're betting on NZD going down, if NZD gets weaker, right, like it is going to be, like we're betting on over there, yeah, I mean, we're betting on NZD weakening here, we're betting on NZD getting weaker here. So how would that react to NZD getting stronger here against JPY? Interesting, because we're also betting on JPY getting weaker here and JPY getting weaker here. And that's it. But you see how all those things correlate? Like, so what we're looking to see for the week is JPY getting weaker. Overall, NZD overall getting weaker. Euro getting stronger. Canadian dollar getting stronger. As you can see, CAD 1, CAD pair, we're looking to gain strength. A second CAD pair, we're looking to gain strength. A third Canadian pair that could potentially gain strength. And then a fourth Canadian pair, which is at a very high probability area for it to gain strength. So you see how all those kind of like line up? I mean, I'm not going to dive too much into that. I'm obviously pay attention to your technicals, but it's just, you know, confluences, like added external confluences from what the market is giving you. It's just cool, you know. This is what I love about trading. It's cool. You know, some people like cars, doing all, you know, fixing bits and bobs and connecting different bits and bobs. Me, I like the markets. I'm a geek, bro. I like to sit behind a computer and look at charts and candlesticks. That floats my boat. That certainly does not sink my ship. So yeah, we've done that one. Right. Next one. Monster break. AUD card. Waiting to see if we see rejection of previous weekly structure, or if the daily intends on pushing the weekly deeper into the retracement. This is an objective statement from my objective state of mind, because I understand that the weekly could continue to push down to create a deeper higher low, or eventually shift structure, or we could see a rejection from previous structure to then push up. So understanding where we are on the weekly allows me to understand what the daily intends on doing overall. Because I can see on the daily now, if we start rejecting this area, tweezer bottom, followed by a higher low, followed by an engulf, I'm like, okay, I'm betting on price going up. Simple. But if I see price break below, come back, give me a doji, evening star, and then my entry signal here after breaking below, I'm like, okay, I'm going to bet on price going down to create a deeper high low at the next potential. Well, when I'm looking for where we could have the next potential area of interest, price doesn't stop in random spots. It's going to stop at an area of interest, which is previous resistance, support, resistance, support. Again, it's the same thing over and over and over. But if it did pull back deeper, we could see the EMA come into this area for it to create that. Shit, wrong thing. Or if we reject here, we'd have previous structure to reject as well as multiple rejections. So I just, you know, you got to be objective. So we'll set an alert here. Oh yeah, I don't know if you can hear that music, but I was getting my juices flowing right now. I'm in the zone, baby. I'm in the zone. So, AUD card, breaking below. Shit. What have I done? Below area of interest. Waiting for retest. And then we also have price above. Ooh, see, it would come above the daily EMA. To come reject the EMA, the area of interest, previous weekly structure. That's all I have to say to that. Right. What am I doing? AUD card broken above. Weekly area of interest. Looking for retest. Very simple. You can see majority of these pairs, I'm just waiting for a retest. And last but not least, USD motherfucking CAD. Alright. I'm not going to go into too much about why or what I believe about this pair, because what I believe doesn't matter. What the market tells me matters. But as you can see, multiple times we've rejected this area. Are we going to do it again? Highly probable. Do I reckon we're going to do it straight away? No. Am I going to explain the reasons for that? No. I have a PowerPoint on that and why I believe that we're going to consolidate and give a rejection candle before, unlike all these other times. So while I'm waiting, I'm just looking at this because, again, as much as I do think that we're gonna have more of a rejection week this week and then see that bearish price action, I understand that anything can happen. So if I'd be foolish to just disregard this, because if price does come down, give me a nice little break retest, I'm fucking taking it. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm taking it. But obviously, I need bearish structure to take it. I'm not going to take this potential lower high. I'm going to wait for this. Because when I take counter trend trades, I need bearish structure confirmed. I'm not trying to be super high risk. Maybe this trade I would. I don't know. We'll see in it. We'll wait till the market unfolds itself a bit more. But for now, what I'm waiting to see is lower high sell-off. Like, you know, look what the market's done previously. Big sell-off, big sell-off, big sell-off. This trade could potentially make some serious dollar, my nigga. Serious dollar. So we're just going to wait in it. We'll set my alert down here. USD CAD. USD CAD. Low area of interest. Ooh, OAA. Area of interest. But that is my pairs for the week. 56 minutes of market analysis. Light. I'll spend 7 hours analysing this shit. But that was raw. That was... Usually I would do this analysis first already and then come on and have it as like 30 minutes or so and just fly through the short explanation. But this is better because I'll, you know, to look back at as well, to see my personal growth, for educational purposes as well. And overall, it's journaling. That's another main reason I do this. It just saves me having to type in what I was looking at for the week. I can just, alright, go back, look at this video. This is what I was looking for. And where my mind was at. So it makes everything a lot easier.